Okay, I don't do this too often, so I may not talk into the speaker correctly, or I may talk really fast, which I've been known to do. Good evening and welcome. I'm Ellen Clarkson, President of the Friends of the Peabody Institute Library of Danvers. We are so pleased to have you here for our Friends annual meeting. This is also the first time we are having a guest speaker, author Julia Fox Garrison, who's over there. After our short business meeting, she will present her story. The 2023 and 24 year has been a very busy year for the Friends. This has also been my first year as president of the Friends, and without the support of the fantastic people that make up the board and the Friends, it would not have gone so well. And maybe it isn't all that well, but it worked out. I made it through the year. I would like to introduce the board that are here to you. Would you stand up and greet yourself? Vice President Michelle Chauncey. Recording Secretary Elizabeth Chenard. She's recording. Sean Smith, our treasurer, is not able to be here tonight, but he did a great job. And we have directors that are here. Ingrid Berry, who is not here at this moment. She may come in later. Mary Saratora, over reading people. And the other director is Lynette Gray, who also cannot be here. She's with her family out in California. A special thanks goes out to our past president, Marcia Coogan. Marcia Coogan, stand up. And she helped me navigate through this past year. Also, Kathy Young, stand up. She's our chair for hospitality, who is responsible for our food choices this evening. Thank you. A heartfelt thanks to all of you. The Friends has had a very energetic year with an expanded calendar of events and increased collaboration with the Peabody Institute Library itself. Our membership continues to be strong with 101 as of this date, 20 of which are new members. Our members come from Danvers and the surrounding communities. Anyone who is interested in joining and supporting the Friends can do so tonight for as little as $20 for an individual membership. Forms are at the table as you come in, the back table. A primary program that the Friends financially support is the Museum Pass program. This year we are proud to offer the community 50 museum passes. New ones include the Cape Ann Museum, Wenham Museum, the Children's Piazza in Peabody, as well as our staples, the MFA, the New England Aquarium, and the Boston Children's Museum, and many more. The total usage of all our passes between May 2023 last year and April, the end of April this year, was 1,119 times. Last year it was only 684. That's a substantial increase. And between January and April, the end of April this year, 483 passes were used, which meant an average of more than 100 a month, if you break it up. And they are getting used, and I'm really happy about that. These passes offer substantial savings to families and individuals and helps to make it a much more affordable to them. And once again, a list of our museum passes are on the back table. I have used them, and they do help you financially, and the staff here will help you use them. It's one of my things that I like to get behind for the museum passes. In addition to offering this community benefit, the Friends have also been able to sponsor 2 programs the library might not have had otherwise. One is the Djembe drumming for the young patrons of the Children's Room and the Teen Gaming Day for teen patrons of the library. Both were well attended, and they took place in this room. The Friends make this financially possible through our memberships, our book sales, and a grant from the Danvers Community Council via the Mass Cultural Council. This year we expanded our fundraising by launching our first successful community fundraiser at the Texas Roadhouse. These additional funds enabled us to bring even more programming to our Danvers residents. And I see faces here that were at our Texas Roadhouse, so I thank you very much. Highlights of our cultural and educational offerings this past year include a musical presentation by Nanette Perrott on the Duke Ellington and the Harlem Renaissance. That was in this room also. A talk by Matt Martin and a stroll around the gardens of Glen Magna, owned by Danvers Historical Society. We did Zoom presentations about travel in Transylvania and an inside look at the Oscars by Charles Bramesco. And we sponsored the North Shoremen Barbershop Chorus at the Danvers Summer Concert Series. Also, we were happy to recognize the library staff during National Library Week. The Friends also connect with the community through our annual open house in December and our book sale, which is starting Tuesday, June 11th, and that's a preview party for members on that day, and it continues through Saturday, June 15th. Book donations are accepted the week before. You can leave them right outside the door here or bring them inside. Once again, listing dates and hours also for the book sale are on the back table. There's a lot of information back there. Please support our main fundraiser for the Friends, which is we get the bulk of our money from the book sale. Looking forward, the upcoming events that we have are the North Shoreman Barbershop Chorus at the Danvers Summer Concert again. We'll have another talk by Matt Martin and a stroll through Glen Magna in September. This year we have something new. We're doing a joint venture with the Danvers Historical Society. It's a talk by Eric J. Dolan from Marblehead, author of Rebels at the Sea. It'll be at Tapley Hall. It won't be in the library here, but we worked out with them and we thought that might be of interest, and we have a lot of patrons that are in both groups, the Historical Society and the Friends of the Library. So that would work out. And we also have Dan Gagnon coming back to us in October to talk on turn of the century Danvers. Once again, I want to thank you for being here. And if you are not a member, please consider being one. We would appreciate that. Next on our agenda is the recording secretary, Elizabeth Chouinard.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Elizabeth. Who's after? I've been a recording secretary for 2 years. I'm delighted to see you all here. My official duty is to have the April 17, 2024 board meeting minutes approved. There are copies at the back where Mary is standing. Hopefully some of the members of the Friends have reviewed these, and I'm asking for a motion. Well, first of all, I'll ask if anybody has any questions about the minutes, if you reviewed them and want to make any comments. Hearing none. Hopefully that means someone's breath out. I'd like to ask for a motion. Yes.
So moved. To accept the minutes. I second that.
Thank you. All members of the Friends approve?
Yes.
Yeah, approved. Thank you. I'm done.
Everybody has some official duty around here. That's her. Okay. Next is, I have to look at the agenda. Look at the agenda. Okay, the treasury report. Sean isn't here tonight to do it, so I get to do it. Tonight would have been his last night presenting, and he does have some comments before I present the numbers or where we're going. Sean's not able to be here tonight, so I will present his report. On the financial side, here, we have $10,008 in our checking account, and we have a CD of $2,500 with a combined total of 13, after some other issues go on, 13,432.50. So financially, we're doing okay, which is what he says in his note to us. He said, we are in a good place finance-wise and believe that my successor, who will be Pat Baker, we hope, when we vote her in, will be a good addition to the board. It is a privilege to work with folks who are passionate about libraries and librarians, as I am. And as you know, librarianship is my calling too. He is a librarian. Our CD will reach maturation in August of 24, and it will be up to the incoming board to decide the next steps with that. While rates are favorable, I recommend a reinvestment of this money again. I look forward to being a friend of the library well into the future and bringing my daughter and the family to this jewel of Danvers. But I urge friend members to continue to advocate for the wonderful library and its awesome staff. This means fighting against the encroachment of censorship, bans, challenges to library materials. That's the purpose of our library, to get through some of these issues and to open it up to the people without censorship. The other piece is, just to make note, last year for our book sale, we had over $4,000 that we made. And it was more than the year before, but not by much. So we're hoping that we can beat that this year. So we appreciate everybody's support on that. Okay. And next on the agenda is report from the library director. Noel Bach, I should say.
You don't have to vote for the treasurer.
No, no, we have enough. To my,
We do that in the trustees.
well, I think at our monthly meeting, this is our, whatever.
Hey, all right, good evening, everyone. I am Noelle Locke. I'm the library director here. So I'm assuming a lot of you are already people who normally come to the library, so welcome back if that's true. If you're new to the library, welcome. I'm glad to have you here. I mean, there's lots and lots of things I can say about the library, but I like to do some highlights. It's been interesting just lately talking to some people and the questions that have come up and things that they don't know about the library. And I just talked to someone the other day who was shocked to know that we had free ebooks and free e-audiobooks that you could get. She's like, I don't have to subscribe to Audible or buy things. She's like, for Kindle? I'm like, yes, Kindle. You can do all of those things. So if you don't know about all the library resources, anytime stop in and just ask. We have so many things that people don't know about besides free ebooks and audiobooks as well. Online we have, if you're into genealogy, we have ancestry.com that you can use for free, Consumer Reports online that you can use for free. We have lots of databases if you're looking for medical information, business information, financial information. We subscribe to all of those things for free here at the library that you can use with just your library card, and sometimes not even with a library card. If you're learning a language, the state provides a database to us called Transparent, which has literally hundreds of languages. I'm actually learning some sign language off of it right now. It's fantastic. So you don't have to, there's a lot of things that people pay for that the library provides for free, and just people don't always know that we have all of these options. But we have them out there, and of course we always have books, DVDs, we've got music, we've got vinyl. Vinyl is back. So we've got vinyl, and if you don't have a record player, we do. We have 2 record players that you can check out. We just have CD players. We have our library of things, so we have sewing machines, we've got hot pots and slow cookers, we've got metal detector, we've got, I'm gonna buy a microscope this year, but we have like a telescope, we have paper shredders, we have all sorts of items like that, lots of board games. So if you're like bored at home, you're looking for a new game to play or something, we've got board games with outdoor games, so we have horseshoes and croquet, bocce, guitars, ukuleles. The library's really come a long way. We have a lot of great things here that you can use and check out. And if you're just like, does the library have this? Then you should just ask, because we probably do. A lot of people don't have internet connections at home. A lot of people don't have printers anymore. You can print at the library. You can photo. We have a color photocopier now. Yay! So not just printing, you can color photocopy. And of course, as you know, we have like these wonderful programs and meeting spaces. We have 2 study rooms people can come and use. We have lots of organizations and groups that come and meet here as well. And we have tons and tons of programs. If you just go on the library's website, danverslibrary.org, you can look at the events calendar, and we have daily programs for kids, we have things for teens, we have things for adults. We really have a little bit of something for everyone here in the library. That's our goal. And if you have an idea, like, hey, maybe they could have, this kind of thing or that kind of thing, you just let us know the things that you're interested in, because we're happy to hear that. And if we can make something happen, we'll make it happen. So we have like a knitting group that meets, like Elizabeth's in the knitting group. And knitting too. The people in the knitting group, well, it's not just knitting, right? It's knitting and crochet, but it's a yarn arts. Like we have Twisted Yarn group, yep. We have lots of different book groups at different times of the day, and some of them are run by patrons and some of them are run by staff. So there's all sorts of things for different people. And we just started an adult Lego club, so anybody who likes Legos. It's first Tuesday of the month. I run a little laughter therapy group, like the first Monday of the month that Ellen comes to. I need one right now. So we have lots and lots going on. One of the things that's, we got a grant this past year, which is a 2-year grant, which is aimed at improving services for the deaf and hard of hearing community here in town. As you may or may not know, we have the New England Homes for the Deaf here in Danvers as well. So we've made a connection with them, and so we have purchased and we'll be starting to put out equipment that will help people. So if you have hearing aids, like we have different amplification methods. So if you come to something like this and you want to have your hearing aid amplified, we'll have devices for that. And we'll also have ones like at the desks so that you can help amplify if you need that as well. Staff is going to be learning some basic sign language as well. to go along with that, and then we'll be providing in the next year a lot of programming. So starting in October is the new grant year, second grant year. We'll be doing a lot of programming, which will be both about bringing awareness about the deaf and hard of hearing, and also programming that will have either captioning or sign language interpreters for it as well, to try to like broaden our reach and really serve that community. Apparently, the statistic is about 20% of the population at any given time is hard of hearing. So that's like not just the deaf, but like there's a lot of people who need services, and we're could have improved services. So those are some of the things that are happening at the library and things that you can use. Feel free. My office is up on the first floor, like right where the standing room is there. So I'm happy to have people drop by and chat anytime, or give me a call or drop an email. And I have wonderful staff, as some of you already know, who are more than willing to help people do anything. And I wanted to give some extra shout outs to the friends, like Ellen forgot to mention. So we have a beautiful mural out in the children's room. You can see on the back wall when you go out. That was, the friends helped fund that as well. And when we had a reception for it, they provided all the food for that too. So they've been always, like, I think the friends are fantastic. I think it's a great organization to be part of. If you're not yet, as I say, I do encourage you, it's only $20 to join. But it really, they make a big impact. And as Ellen was saying, like the museum pass, like I had looked at the statistics for the museum passes recently, and I was blown away about how much they're being used now. I've only been here going on 3 years, and just the use has gone up. And I feel like what the friends have been doing, they've been really growing and doing more and better things every year since I've been here. So it's a great organization to be a part of. So if you have the ability to join and volunteer more, that I encourage it. But that's all the time I'm going to take. I think that's my 5 minutes are up. So I will let you get back to your agenda. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much for those kind words. And I did forget, I forgot, but I didn't do the mural because we talked about it last year. But now it's all done, so I hope you all get to see the mural. It's really beautiful. All right, so before we do nominations, this is me with all my paperwork that I got. I would like to recognize the members of the board who are stepping down away from their role. They've been very valuable to us as friends. They've been members for many years, and they've taken on roles that I don't know how to do. Taking notes at a meeting, using a computer, it's pretty basic. But so those that are stepping away from the role. So I'm going to start with our director who came in late, who wasn't here when I rattled off all the names. Ingrid Berry. She has been a director. I can find me with my notes here. Okay. I have everything out. And they're all going to say it. Okay. Ingrid's been last role was director, and she started doing that in 21. Before that, I know 2021. She was recording secretary. She's been a longtime member. She's been greatly appreciated by all of us because she contributes so much between her suggestions, advice, and knowledge, and willingness to take on a variety of activities and tasks that we throw at her, like Glenn Magno. When is Matt going to talk? Where's the date? What are you going to do? So we want to thank you for your work that you did, and I have something for you. So it's organized. Which you can come up now, or you can get it later. In a small parting gift, but thank you so much for your service. The next lady we have is Mary Sartora. Another longtime director and member of the Friends. And I don't know all the roles that she's done, but her and I have packed up books here and stood out in the rain and worked really hard, and we laughed through it. She's at every event and occasion. She gives her energy, and she'll do anything for us. And she's very valuable. She knows the library, having worked here at one point, so she knows what the needs of the libraries are. So Mary.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And Sean Smith was leaving us. He was our treasurer. He worked as treasurer. His work as treasurer was greatly needed and appreciated. But this is a job that not everyone is aware what it entails. He has monthly reports, tax returns, paying the bills, grants, keeping us balanced. And his knowledge of the library as a librarian has been very helpful. He was one who really pushed for a lot of the museum passes that we had. Working in another library, he was able to balance out what passes were good, what weren't, and set us in the right direction. So that was great, and we thank him for his effort. We're sorry he couldn't be here tonight, but we will send our best wishes to him. And last but not least is Elizabeth Chenard, the recording secretary, my right hand. What do I do, Elizabeth? What do I do? What should I do? She's been a longtime member. Her knowledge and skills have made her very valuable for the past 2 years. She's been doing this role since 2021, and greatly appreciate all that she does. She's helped us set up the Friends PayPal. She works on Facebook. She sends off our minutes, the agenda, and anything else that we ask her to do and what she can do, she's done for us. Her skills will be missed, but we hope you will continue as an active member because I need you. And now, Michelle is up next to do the nominations and the vote.
Do I just, because I'm in the back,
Yep.
neighbor friend, do I just read them all
Yep,
out
yep.
at one time as the slate?
Yep, read the story.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, for the 2024-2025 calendar for the board, we have continuing as president, Ellen Clarkson, vice president, myself. Recording secretary, we are bringing on Ivy Butterworth. Treasurer is Patricia Baker, it's not here right now. And directors, we will, Lynette Gray has been with us for a while, and we are adding Kathy Young, who has been our hospitality committee chair extraordinaire, and Trudy Cullen. All in favor? Is that what you say? Is that right? The motion to accept the slate. Thank you. Okay, then all in favor? See how much faster we work at this than in Washington? All right, well, thank you very much. Okay, I'm quite pleased to present something new this evening, our first annual meeting speaker. And who better to break this ground than the indomitable Julia Fox Garrison. Julia had a promising executive career in the computer industry when she suffered a massive brain hemorrhage and paralyzing stroke when she was only 37. Through her recovery, which exceeded all expectations, Julia realized that she had a lot to say. There were lessons to share about humor, inner strength, and self-determination. Since the publication of her national bestseller, Don't Leave Me This Way, or When I Get Back on My Feet, You'll Be Sorry, Julia has been an in-demand speaker advocating for integrating humanity into the medical field and also into how each of us walks through life. Julia and her incredible story have appeared in media outlets such as People Magazine, Good Morning America, and BBC News, and she has spoken to hundreds of groups all across the country. Today, Julia continues to face her health challenges with positivity and a never-ending belief in the power of hope and laughter. The Friends are thrilled that she's sharing her wisdom with us this evening. Please welcome my friend, Julia Fox Garrison.
So I typically wear a brace and I use steady, which is my cane. There's actually a chapter in my book about steady. Let me just get that. Gumby, I bring Gumby because Gumby reminds us to be flexible. Because stuff happens, right? Unexpected happens. Remember Gumby, you need to be flexible. I'm going to come down here. All right, so let's get started. How many of you have faced adversity? Raise your hand. Really? Who hasn't? Everyone has faced some type of adversity in their life or a loved one, whether it's emotional, physical, or financial. It's just, it happens. And what I'm going to do is show you how I kicked my adversity to the curbside. The thing with challenges and obstacles is that it fills you with character, and it also makes you wise. And I have enough character. I could do a Disney film at this point from all the things which I'll be sharing with you. Let's all stand up, holler, woo! Come on. That's a standing O for you guys, for what you probably face in your own lives. And it's just to show that we can feel good even when we're going through issues. We can find ways to feel better. And I appreciate you coming out tonight. It's going to be historic tonight, somewhere. But it's my hope that by sharing my journey on the gurney with you, that I can help you through your own journeys and through your own personal issues. So first, I'll start with the book, Don't Leave Me This Way. I suffered a massive hemorrhagic stroke in 1997. I was 37 years old. My son had just turned 3 on Saturday, and 5 days later, I literally died on the operating table. And I had a vision, which is in the book, and I had a choice. And the choice was to come back, albeit in a broken body, or to remain on that ladder in my relationship with God. And as my husband says, I'm so happy you chose to stay. And boy, it's been a ride. So I wrote the book not for cathartic reasons. It was really to show, it was twofold. I never had a fire in my belly to write a book. I never wanted to be an author. I just wanted someone to write a book and dedicate it to me so that I wouldn't have to do any work and my name would be in print. Yay! But as circumstances would have it, I had to write this book because in 1997, it really was a business. There wasn't buzzwords like patient-centered care, person-centered care. Those things were, it really didn't come to the forefront till the mid-2000s. So I had a lot of negativity. One, because my stroke, the hemorrhage killed 65% of my brain on the right side. And so because of that, as the surgeon who did my surgery said, you lost a lot of real estate. And I did, but the real estate was my physicality. So to share a little bit of my deficits is, if you look at me, you can see that I have a hook in my arm. It's actually even shorter now through the years. I have tone spasticity, neuropathy. I can't really feel my left side. I have proprioception problems. And I have this biggest thing is called left neglect. I don't know if any of you are familiar with it, but I've just learned to live with it. Left neglect is where my brain doesn't recognize I have a left side. So I'm constantly using my hand, my eyes to compensate. I cross my legs so I know where my legs are in space. It's a really weird concept, and I have so many funny stories. I could do the whole thing on just left neglect of all the issues that's got me into it. I've had to find humor through that. But just to share with you one that is the one that's always a gotcha for me. Now, I've been presenting since the book was published, and I self-published in 2005, and in 3 months it went to the bestseller list. I sold more books than Harry Potter on Christmas. Whoa. And yeah, it was huge. And then that caused the New Yorkers, all the publishing houses went nuts, and they're like, who is this person? So they flew me to New York, and I went to a publisher auction. So all the publishers were bidding, not all of them, but a good portion of publishers, big houses, were bidding on my book. And I went to interview them because I didn't want them to make broad stroke changes to my book. I really wanted to stay true to my vision. And the reason it caused such a stir in New York was because the first few chapters are written in third person. So you see Julia kiss her husband and her 3-year-old, and she goes to a corporate job. in Waltham. I lived in Danvers at the time. And so I wanted the reader to see me doing my life by routine, that I was doing just what I was kind of robotic in what I was doing, and you're a voyeur into my life. And then once the hemorrhage occurs, I end that chapter with she's gone, and I start up with you. So now it's in second person, and it's predominantly written in second person so that you can feel the frustration and the confusion I felt. I wanted it to be not a blow-by-blow recovery story, but interactive. And then at the end, there's 2 chapters, the first person for the things I've learned on my journey. And I didn't want to preach to the reader. That is not what I'm trying to do here. I just hope that you can take away from my story and apply it to your own life, some of the things that I did. And I like to say, when I do a lot of medical conferences, I always say, feisty patient gets better. And it's true. I was super feisty. The book is really irreverent. So I wrote it that's why it was so unique to the publishers, because they didn't understand that it was a 4-year window of a memoir. And I'm currently working on my prequel sequel, if you can call it that. That's going to be called My Non-Compliant Life. And the doctors don't really enjoy hearing that when I say that, and then they have to treat me. Oh. So the deficits have been with me for a long time, but I don't focus on them, because if you think about what you're going through, it becomes magnified and it grows. And I was really fighting for my life for a long time. I had every vessel in my brain was blistered. And they were saying, don't strain on the toilet, don't laugh too hard. And I'm like, don't strain on the toilet, and then they wonder why I'm constipated for 9 days. Okay, and don't laugh. I'm like, well, I'd rather die laughing, I said, I can't think of anything as important as laughter, except maybe some chocolate. Going through what I went through it was devastating to everyone that loved me too. So it doesn't just happen to the person, it happens to the scope of care and everything that goes with it. It happens to the whole family. And one of the things when you're going through, I literally was totally paralyzed in the sense that I have hemiparesis. And one of the things that happens with left neglect, I just want to show you. This is a long talk, so it doesn't happen here. But in the past, and the one that comes to mind the most was when I was in front of 1,500 people in Michigan, and I was talking, and when I was thinking, I can't pay attention to this irreverent left side. So I was thinking and not paying attention, and as I did, it hooked onto the bottom. I don't wear those short blouses anymore. It hooked onto the bottom of my blouse, and as the tone kicked in, I'm talking, and everyone was so involved with my talk. I was so like, wow, they really like what I'm saying. Well, actually, no. I was completely naked. You could see my black bra and a big fat white belly, and I had no clue. So people say, well, how do you deal? And I'm like, well, you find humor in those things. It's because, you know what? I reframe the word mistakes. I call them attempts, because there's nothing that's been ever successful on the first attempt. And on your first, we make mistakes. Everything in this room is based on a mistake. So I've learned so much wisdom through this. I'm a wise old Yoda right now. The dignity can go away. You feel like when you are completely paralyzed, I lost my autonomy. I lost the ability to even sit up in bed without being propped by 5 pillows. I just flopped. I had no center of gravity, so everything was whoop. And when you have that, no ability to even feed yourself, although you can see I've been doing very well. But even that, my meals, say when they brought in the meals at the rehab, I would only eat the first side on the right side, and you'd have to turn the plate around. That's what left neglect is. And but I couldn't read any notes because I cut off the whole left side of the page. I couldn't tell what time it was because I only saw 12 to 6. So it was just really a long process. I still have lots of elements of that creeps into my life. Even to this day, I'll take my coat off and walk around, and my husband will say, you didn't take your coat off. And I go, yeah, I did. Well, I took the right side off. And then the rest is dragging around with me, things like that. So dignity was somewhat lost through my recovery because, you know, when you're relying on everything done for you, including wiping my own ass for that matter, it's just, you feel like you're losing your dignity. But I'm here to tell you that dignity is yours, and you own it, and it only goes away. It's not because of your circumstances, only if you give it away. So realize that your dignity is yours and you own it, and you are not your circumstances. The other thing that comes with that is a little lesson of embarrassment. How many of you guys get embarrassed? And what do you think of when you hear embarrassment? Raise your hand, like, what do you, yell out, and whatever. Shame, red face, people laughing at you. One of the biggest lessons from the stroke was that embarrassment comes very easily. But what I learned through the stroke, so when I published when it went national publishing, when it went to the national publisher, I was on all kinds of news feeds. I was, there was just a lot of stuff where I had to speak publicly. Well, in the corporate world, my VP would put, he sent me to classes to learn how to speak in front of one of these. And I was terrified. And I spoke at a wedding for a friend, and I had epilepsy, and then I peed my pants. I mean, it was bad. I was very phobic. But once I learned that if you speak from the heart and you're doing it to help others, it doesn't matter. If you are doing it with good intentions, then it's okay to make mistakes. So that's where the embarrassment, but what do you think about embarrassment? Embarrassment is what you think. What I'm thinking, you're thinking of me, which I hope is really awesome. But that's what embarrassment is. It's internal, it's not external. We're not mind readers. Once you throw out the embarrassment, you become much stronger and you're freer. Because it's only you judging yourself. And self-talk is the most important conversation you're going to have every morning, is how you talk to yourself, because that's how you project yourself. And so what happened with, once I learned the embarrassment part, I become so much more free and started accepting the speaking engagements. And from that, also was the gratitude. I learned gratitude, it was measured in minutia. Like most people say, I'm grateful for my home, I'm grateful for my family, I'm grateful for, you know, the things that are very obvious. My gratitude went to, I'm glad I can brush my teeth by myself, no one's doing it. I'm not in that wheelchair, I'm not attached to a wheelchair. Although that's what they told me when I was recovering. I was, if I lived, most of them said I would most likely die because of the condition of my brain. And also that if I lived, I would never get out of a wheelchair. I'm like, get out of my way, I'm gonna do it. Just watch me. So the stroke is what that book is about, Don't Leave Me This Way. When I get back on my feet, you'll be sorry. I had another title when I first self-published called P.S. Julia, for post-stroke Julia, or P.S. I had a lot to say. I was always P.S.ing. So, but Barnes & Noble didn't like that title because, I don't know why, because it had my subtitle was Missing a Piece of Your Mind Can Be Puzzling, and it had all puzzles on the cover. But they changed it to Don't Leave Me This Way, and I was like, when my publisher called me and said, we're going to change the title, I was like, oh, that's an awful title. That sounds depressing. That sounds like someone left me. And then I'm like, all right, I need to be empowered. Can I add? And so that's how I got, when I get back on my feet, you'll be sorry. So you know that I'm feisty. So moving forward, I realized that, I realized a lot of things. But so what happened was, gratitude was measured in minutia. And so my gratitude is still to this day is like, wow. I go to a market basket and I'm like, wow, I'm here by myself. I'm like, I go, oh, I'm unloading the dishwasher, maybe not as much as Jim would like me to, but I'm doing it one-handed. This hand is good for decorating, that's about it. So it's really along for the ride, the whole left side. So, but here I am, unloading the dishwasher. So I hope that by sharing this part with you, that when you're doing your mundane things, realize there's somebody out there can't physically do it. Or somebody out there that is very sad because they're going through something. So realize, so it will help your own life. So now I'm going to have you, I'm taking you on a little journey of the gurney with me. And I've had a lot happen to me, not just the stroke, which would be enough in one person's life, but in mine, so with the stroke, it was 4 years before they knew why I had the stroke. And I was an enigma to the hospital staff. I was in every department's grand rounds. It was amazing. And no one could quite figure it out. They did every single kind of test you can imagine to figure out why I had the stroke. And that's the mystery in the book, and I'm not going to share it. But one doctor, Dr. Jerk in my book, I had Dr. Jerk, Nurse Doom, Dr. Bleak, I had Nurse Lucky. Yeah, I kind of Dr. Panic. So Dr. Panic was the one running, you're gonna die, you're gonna die. He literally did that to me, and it was crazy. So I know, this is what I'm here for. I'm kind of trying to change the mindset. I'm not just sharing with you, but with the healthcare community. It's predominantly where I speak to. And to show that there's a human being inside every patient. That was why I wrote it, because I was not getting that response that I was just a stroke in room 417. I am much more than that. I'm a multifaceted human being that is unique from the last person that was in this bed. So it was really about that, but the other component was I wanted to show people like you and me that even if you're being told you're going to die, now, I'm sorry, no one can tell me I'm going to die or when my demise is except God. And I want to show others that the parameter, the spirit, the human spirit, has no parameters. So we can fly, we can soar. And even when you're being in the face of being told negativity, we can turn it around ourselves. Like, for instance, I had to create my own hope. No one would give me any hope. And hope is the motivator. If you don't have hope, you don't really have any motivation to do what you need to do. And also, I'm going to get back to hope as I progress with my journey. So now, in 2013 and 14, I developed double vision. And it was more crippling than the stroke. I could not drive. I could not watch TV. I felt disassociated from my body. And I was already disassociated on the left side. So now I was very dizzy and sick all the time. And it really brought me to my knees. It was probably one of the worst things I've ever been through. And it was 14 months of double vision. I had many weeks at a time hospital stays for them to try and figure me out. And what I ultimately got diagnosed with was ocular myasthenia gravis disease. And I was like, OMG is the short? So I wrote a little blog saying, only I could have OMG. But it was crippling, and it was probably one of my darkest times going through. But once there were some methods that I put in place that I started following what I did for stroke, I realized only I could get myself out of this no matter what I was being told. Myasthenia gravis, are you familiar with that? Yeah, it's pretty nasty. It's the way your nerves talk to your muscles. And the way they were saying I had it in my eyes only, but it could become systemic, because that's usually how it presents, it's systemically in your body. But no, I had it in my eyes, and 14 months later, I figured out what it was. And it was not OMG. It was, so I celebrate my homage to my hemorrhage every year. July 17th, 1997, you guys, I accept presents, cards, I love it. I open champagne. It's a big celebration for me. And so I realized with the double vision, we were out at 9 Elm actually. And I was with my mom and dad and my husband, and we were celebrating. And I started to laugh, and I hit my head on the crown molding of the corner of the restaurant, crown molding. And it hit me in the center of the back of my head. I got a big egg, I saw stars, and everyone was like, should we go home? I'm like, no, we're here at a restaurant, get me another drink, baby. So I was like, okay, I'll just, I'm pretty tough. I grew up with 8 brothers, by the way, and no sisters, and I believe that was the premise of what made me such a tough cookie. I realized after 14 months, because I was hospitalized several weeks at a time, different periods of that 14 months, and my neurologist, who I love to pieces, he was always my sounding board, and I had a cyst on my thyroid. He said maybe that's what's causing it, so they cut that out. So now I'm on medication for life for that. Big mistake. I shouldn't have done it. But we were trying everything of why I was having this double vision. And so once I was diagnosed with the OMG, they put me on medication that actually crippled me. It made me even sicker. It really was not the right course. It was a bruised optic nerve that took 14 months to heal. I diagnosed myself, I figured it out, and I have to get the people that I trust substantiated it. Because what happens when I bruise it, and I do believe I must have had a bleed, and it must have taken that long to resolve. Because one of the things that told me that it wasn't OMG, besides that medication was not working, and believe me, the test they do for myasthenia on your eyes is brutal. A lot of electricity and needles. Let me just point out, it's really very painful. And I really, my neurologist was, well, let's give you some prednisone, solumedrol, in an IV. So I'd go up to the cancer center and I'd get the IV, and I'd go there every day for a week, and then I could see again. So I was like, there's something. I said, this is inflammation. There's some inflammation in my body that's being tempered by the solumedrol, and then I could see again. But as soon as it wore off, I'd have to go back. It was horrible. So it turned out it was just the bruised optic nerve, and I don't have OMG. Yes. So now I'm going to fast forward you guys to January 6, 22. I had a physical on January 6th in 2022. I go to my primary, and she's, I'm very close to her. She laughs with me. We joke about, she knows my history, which is like this high. It's just a stack. And she said, Julia, your liver enzymes are really high, but you know what? It's after the holidays. We'll do another labs in about 3 months. And I looked at those numbers and I'm like, hey, I know I had fun over the holidays, but not that much fun. No. I said, you know what? I need to have an ultrasound right now. So I got an ultrasound. From the ultrasound, it went from ultrasound to CAT scan to PET scan to a very invasive biopsy that took some recovery actually, because I had stage 4 stomach cancer. Oh. Yeah, hello! Yeah, I am a Joe. So stage 4 stomach cancer, if you looked at the PET scan, you would see spots everywhere. It had gone to my liver, it was in my lymph nodes, and I had very sizable tumor on my stomach, right at the base. And of course, naturally, my brother's a doctor, and I'm like, he's like, because we've already lost 2 of my siblings to cancer, so when we hear the word cancer, it is devastating. But it's devastating to everybody. The word cancer, it conjures up your mortality. It conjures up fear. It strikes such fear. And, it's not just physical. It's psychological warfare on you to be diagnosed with Cindy. I call it Cindy. Because you know why? Cancer does all those horrible things. There's not one positive thing you could say about cancer. Not one positive thing. But Cindy is happy and bubbly. So I always refer to the C as Cindy. And I had a friend, I shouldn't say it because we are friends, but she was very angry with me. My high school friend from over 50 years ago was very angry, called me up and said, I heard you're using Cindy. And I said, what's the matter, Cindy? I'm sorry, why are you mad at me, Cindy? And she goes, because I don't like you equating my name to something so horrible. And I go, Cindy, I think of you as bubbly and happy, and it gives me power over it. And now to this day, she says, thank you for allowing me to be part of your recovery. And I have all the doctors saying Cindy too. Because I'll say, I don't think I had Cindy in my liver. Oh, we know 98% that you had Cindy in your liver. You know, I'm like, it's so fun to do that. So to give you a little idea about that, every 11 days, I had to have a full day of treatment of a cocktail mixture of all kinds of platinum-based chemos. And so my first day there, I'm terrified, you know, I've taken vitamins all my life, and now I'm putting poison in my body, you know. So it's like this mindset, it's a battle, it's tug of war. And so when I had my first dose on that first day, what happens is you go, and it's like a 6-hour day, you get a pod, they usually put you in a pod, and I learned rapidly what pod I wanted. There's a window over there, you know. There's all kinds of things with that. And there's another whole story about how I changed the dichotomy of the cancer center, but I'm not gonna get into that now. But I changed it to a very positive for everybody, not just myself. And that brought me joy, and it lifted me to get through this. And the goal was to lift others. And when you lift others, you lift yourself. I truly believe that. So now I have this, I have a port now here, and I'm having my first treatment, and I'm learning the ropes, right? And so they come in, and you know, my mom and my husband are like, do you want me to stay with you? I'm like, no, I'm gonna be here 6 hours. But so they're like, what if you feel anything different? Please let us know. And I go, well, what will I feel different? She goes, oh, don't worry about it. Never happens to anybody. Never happens. I said, okay. So now 20 minutes go in. I go, hello. Hello. Is it good that I'm getting close? My voice is closing up. I was anaphylactic to the oxaliplatin. So I had that whole hospital in my little pod in my room with me, and they were all like, they're freaking out. I mean, I've never seen such a, you shut down all the tubes, shut down all of that. And then they had to come up with a plan, which was to give me like high doses of Benadryl, prednisone, all this stuff, so that they could continue the treatment. So, and then I get to go home with the pump for 2.5 days and get more, and this was every 11 days, so this was my life. And oh, Julia, you're gonna lose weight. And I'm like, yay, and this is a benefit. And you won't lose your hair. I gained weight, I lost my hair. You don't know what you're talking about. So when I was anaphylactic to the oxaliplatin, and they continued to try to pre-treat me, and I ended up, I think it was the second or third, my mom would know because it struck fear in her heart. I had the anaphylaxis, even though I had all the pre-treatment, and we went to the ER, and I was there a full day of just trying to get my breath back because I was pretty much dying. So that was, it's quite alarming, right? But, you know, so when I met with the oncologist, my first oncologist, I say first because yes, that means there's another one following. Because when I first met with him, he first told me what my timeline of my life was.
Oh my God.
Which you don't tell Julia that. Yeah, because I'm not gonna live up to your bar. Your bar is your bar, not mine. And I don't care what your books say, and I don't care. And he goes, well, you know, I said, listen, my timeline, I've already surpassed it, everyone, by the way. It was not a very big, you know, and he didn't want to engage with me. And I tell everyone that if you, like my dad had lymphoma, and I said, Dad, I can't stand your oncologist, he's so robotic. He's like, I don't care, he's just treating me. So that for my dad worked, but not for me. I want you to care about me, to care for me. And that was how I felt. And I'd say, hey, I heard you're going on vacation. Yes. Hey, where'd you go? Vermont. You know, like there was no connection. So I said, all right, you don't want to engage with me. But you know what? I want you to know, I've been in the 2% 2 other times before. So you have to realize that the power of the mind is pretty powerful. And he kind of scoffed at me. And I was like, well, I didn't dump him real fast because I was being treated, and like when you are dealing with another crisis, you're like learning the ropes and you're trying to figure out everything. And I was so sick too. I was super sick, and he was just not, you know. So finally, I said when I was getting my port flushed in my labs, I said, you know, I feel like he's not engaging with me or something. And well, they interpreted that I wanted a new doctor, and I never said that. Next thing I know, oh, you're getting another, he thinks you need a woman. And I'm like, no. I went in and I sat down, I go, you want to go? He goes, I heard you're uncomfortable with me, and I'm going to give you one of my colleagues because I think you need a woman. I said, no, you're not going to dump me that fast. We're going to go and we're gonna have this conversation and let's see where we end up. I said, look at it. I am a multifaceted human being. I'm not a cancer cell, and I am unique. And I know that you don't agree with me on my positivity and my humor, but please at least appreciate it, because that's going to be a factor in my recovery. Well, so my good news to everybody, the suspense, right? I haven't had treatment in 15 months. None. And this is the beauty. 7 clean scans. I'm disease-free. I am disease-free. And the last time, so the first 2 clean scans I had with him, he'd say, well, you know it's going to come back and you'll be harder to treat because you're anaphylactic. No, that gets worse. He did that the next clean scan, said, well, you know it's going to be harder to treat because you're anaphylactic and you, oh, I left out a really important piece. The other component in my treatment was immunotherapy. Immunotherapy is really wonderful, but it's also as bad as far as how you feel with chemo. And I ended up having a reaction that I learned from my new oncologist I've had him a year now. It happens between 1% and 3%. And what it did was the immunotherapy caused my joints to be, my arthritis went into overdrive, and it just flooded my system with arthritis to the point I couldn't get out of a chair. My husband we were back to how I was with stroke, bringing me into the bathroom, doing everything for me. So that was what the immunotherapy did to me. So, so the third time I have the clean scan, he says, the last thing he says to me is, and it was the last thing, he said, well, you're in a bad place psychologically. And I was like, I'm the most positive person you'll ever meet. You'll never meet someone, I don't understand what you mean by that. He goes, well, you know it's going to come back and you'll be harder to treat. So I was like, done. So I'm now at MGH, and I have a young doctor that is just the most positive, and he is so in my corner and knows how to work with me. Like, he knows that I need a plan. I need a plan, tell me what the plan is. So I've always, so my last visit, my last clean scan was May 2nd. I have a PET scan every 3 months. I will be having them till 2027, according to my new doctor. And I try to push them out 4 months if I can. And there is such a thing as scan anxiety, and I put on Facebook all the time to my friends, prayers now, I'm going in an hour, because with PET scans, they inject you with radioactive material, and you have to sit for an hour and be as calm as you can. And yeah, right? And they always say, well, if you're not calm, then it's called FDG, the radioactive material will deposit in places you don't want it to, and can misinterpret the reading. So he said to me I saw May 2nd was my last one. He put up my screen, my PET scan from my first and to the last, so the comparison is just astounding. And I said, you know, Dr. K, I just can't get my last doctor out of my head. He echoes constantly that it's going to come back and I'll be harder to treat. Julia, we have whole teams here that deal with your types of reaction. In fact, the rheumatologist that I'm working with, she does 80% immunotherapy reactions. She researches for 80% of her time and 20% clinician. So I'm being studied. But the thing is, he gave me, like, he goes, we have whole teams, and this is what we'll do. We will do this. We'll have you stay in the hospital overnight. He gave me it all laid out. So now I can go, there is a plan. So if it does come back, I have a plan, because the last doctor gave me nothing except that it's going to come back, and there's no plan. So then he said, and he, like, I want to say cured. I believe I am cured, but you know, he's like, this is what you can say. You can say remission or disease-free. Well, I know remission sounds like it's coming back, so I'm disease-free. I'm taking it. And you know what he said to me on May 2nd this time? He said, Julia, I'd be really surprised if it came back. Like, right? So I had this big tumor, you can't even see it. It's gone, because when I first had the tumor and I didn't know it had spread to all these places, you know, my brother who's a doctor, he kind of managed me. His wife's here, she's a doctor too. And he kind of manages my care. And he's like, Julianne, you can get a gastric bypass and then it's gone. And I'm like, wow, I'm gonna get skinny. Yay, free! And I don't have to go through it, you know. But it's gone. There's no surgery to do there. There are no spots, there are nothing. So it's just, he knew how to treat me. He treated my mind as well as my body. And that's what we all need, is we need our minds treated first. Because the body listens to the mind. And so the things I did different, just to share with you quickly, between stroke recovery and Cindy recovery, is that in stroke you can see what you have to fix. But in that insidious Cindy disease, you can't see it. It's just insidious and infiltrating your body, right? So I started speaking out loud to my body. I prayed out loud, but I spoke out loud to my body, because your brain hears the instructions and it will listen. Your body will listen. And that's what I did every day, out loud, before I went to bed, saying, you are healed, you are cured. And it seemed to have worked. I also did some weird stuff too. I never changed my diet. I never went into that vegan and doing all that stuff that a lot of the cancer sites have. I did wheatgrass because I do believe the nutrition value is huge. So I do wheatgrass shots every day if I can. So, in wrapping up, you know, I just want to share, I have a PhD. It's called Personal Healthcare Discoveries or Personal Happiness Discoveries. And you guys have a PhD too, because you've all been in your bodies 24/7. And I have never had an issue of speaking up for myself because someone has a higher degree than me. Because my degree, I've been in my body 24/7, and I feel that's on-the-job training. I just don't have the thing hanging on the wall. So I want to share with you that to join the 4-H Club with me for a fulfilling life, incorporate happiness, hope, humility, and humor. And that's what resilience is. That's what resilience is encapsulated. And resilience isn't bouncing back, by the way, because everyone thinks, oh, you're resilient, you bounce back. No, we never bounce back to original form. Because what I believe is resilience is adapting and growing from the experience and learning a different way. And that's exactly what I did. And so the future isn't guaranteed. And our futures are our own responsibility. So be alive with intention and be true to yourself and not to someone else's vision, because no one does you better than you, and you know better than anyone else about you. And the last thing I want to share is that to excavate your purpose. Some people know their purpose right away, but sometimes you have to dig for it and dig deep. And excavating your purpose is going to really give you such a passionate life when you have your purpose. And for me, when I stroked and I had I had problems speaking too, but it was not from, it was more cognitive stuff, but it wasn't the area of my brain where speech is. That's on the left side of your brain. Mine was more of the physicality, but mine was, I was numb. So I have numb cheek and numb eyeball, numb tongue, so it was hard for me to form words because I had to relearn how to work with a flaccid side of my face. So the first words that I was, once I was able to talk, the first words I said was, there's a reason I'm here. I don't know what it is, but I may never know what it is, but there's a reason, there's a purpose. Maybe it's to be an Olympic athlete, but not in my case. But the purpose that I've learned is to be here and speaking out and speaking to you, and hopefully you'll go home with a little bit of a nugget. So I appreciate one last thing. Sorry, I'm trying to stay targeted. My brother's here, and he just had a book signing last week, and this is called Siphon, the Power Comes with a Price. And I'm not a sci-fi reader, but I love Stephen King. It's very similar, it has a lot of elements, it's very well written, and it's super fun to read, and it'll take you out of your own earthly planet. And there's my brother Jamie, stand up. He wrote the book. He's an attorney by trade, but his passion is writing. So it kind of suits that being in the library here.
Would you take up some questions?
Yeah,
We have time for a few questions.
I'm an open book, you can ask me anything. Jim hates that.
Speak up.
He does hate that. Yes?
You're familiar with Jill Taylor?
Yes, we communicated.
I do assume you have.
Yeah, I told her we were bookends, because hers happened on the left side and mine was on the right side. And I had a little bit of trouble with her book in that she made stroke, and this is just personal, so her book helps people, but for me, it was a little bit like she described as a scientist what it was like.
Well, yes.
And I had a hard time with that because she made it sound like it's fun and trippy and cool, and it isn't. It is not, having a stroke is not the best. But yes, we have communicated.
What was the question?
She asked if I knew Jill Taylor Bolt, who wrote the book Stroke of Insight. Actually, the title of my original book was supposed to be A Stroke of Luck, and then Kirk Douglas came out with it while I was writing it. And the real cool thing, and tell me if it's not apropos or whatever the word I want to use, we were with the publisher and my publicist and everybody, and who walked into the restaurant? Kirk Douglas and his wife. And my agent's like, don't go, she knows me, don't bother him, he's eating dinner. I'm like, I'm gonna never have this opportunity again. You know, I don't know if he's gonna make it. I mean, he was old. So I did go over to him to tell him how much I admired him, and I am Spartacus, you know, just, you know, from Spartacus, but so it came full circle. Any other questions? Like I said, I'm an open book.
So you're saying when you went to meet with publishers in New York, that they were having like an auction over you, and you wanted to interview them. Like, how did you? What were you interviewing them about exactly to get your way? I guess, how did you get your way?
I got to pick who won the bid. It didn't matter, it wasn't cost to me, it wasn't how much. So just to give you an idea, so I've done Harvard publishing talks. They've invited me back because this is a whole nother talk, so I don't want to get too deep in it, but I did the publishing totally backwards. And I didn't look for an agent, I didn't look for a publisher, I didn't do any of that because I knew that if I spent all my time doing that, I would never get the task that I wanted to get done. And so when I met with them, there was several, but the why I picked HarperCollins publishers, there were 9 people in the meeting with me, 9, including Jonathan Burnham, who is still the head publisher for HarperCollins. And just a quick anecdote, he said, Julia, what is your target audience? And I said, well, it's not about stroke. And he said, so don't pigeonhole me into stroke. He goes, well, everyone. And he goes, everyone isn't a target. So I said, well, everyone in this room has either faced something hard or a loved one has faced something hard. So that's everyone. And so I got to choose out of who won the bid, because they were all bidding, and I got to choose. That happened after I left New York. But one of the things I was looking for is that I had put so much sweat and blood into this that I had just been on the market for 2 months, and I had to take it off. I went and I said, so for publishers, they usually would take 2 years from accepting or buying your book to shelves. And I'm like, you're not going to do a year, because I literally I have to go into an eclipse. I mean, you're not going to go 2 years. So I consented to a year, and they agreed to that. And I also said I don't want broad stroke changes. I want my story to be my story and be true to my vision, not your vision. And they respected that. And I became very close with my editor, who was everyone's afraid of her. She's like, people are afraid of me. I'm like, well, you are really strong. But she and I bucked heads a lot about certain elements of the book that you want to take it out or put in. And it was a really great relationship, actually, with her. But unfortunately, just 2 years ago, she was young too, passed from breast cancer. But so she was drawn to my book, though, because it was about overcoming something hard. So I felt very blessed that I had them, and they do still to this day have first right of refusal. And granted, now we're like, so that was 2006 hardcover, 2007 paperback, 2012 they sold it to audio, and then I was on all kinds of news feeds, and then there was this is kind of a funny story. So Seoul, Korea, I got this a message in my email from Seoul, Korea, a producer who was producing a documentary, and he wanted to include me in the documentary because he said, there's not a lot of laughter, and we're trying to show, you can find laughter through the difficulty. I'm like, that's right up my alley. But I didn't respond for 3 days. And so I got a message from the Korean consulate in Boston, and they said, we need you to do this documentary because it will help relations between U.S. and Korea. I got right on that phone, I called, Mom, I had a stroke, and now I'm doing foreign diplomacy. And it was the funniest thing. They came, they followed me around for the whole day. They wanted me to show cooking, so they filmed me that. And I dropped the pizza thing because they only have one hand and they're super heavy, and it shattered into a million pieces. And I started laughing, and he was like, why is she laughing? So I'm like, I'm not gonna translate over in Korea or China. But it did the book got translated into Chinese because of that. And if you have an opportunity, look up the cover, it's hysterical, because it looks like there's a man pushing a woman in a wheelchair off a cliff. That's but I know Jim wanted to feel that way. So super funny. Yes.
One more?
I just had, as you appear to, be so unbelievable, you must have had times of, in despair,
Complete
or why
despair.
me, or self-pity. I mean, it's just the human condition. What, and you mentioned the 3-year-old, like, was it your children? Was it you? I look over at your family, like,
Yeah,
what?
my mom's over in the
what-
far corner.
what did you draw on?
My husband's in the middle,
Yeah.
and my brother JD's on the end. And my sibling. I have another sibling here, Jerry. So, and my sister-in-law, she's a pediatrician, and her husband's the one that is my godson, actually, because that's what we Catholics do. We're all like incestuous on who's the godfather. But anyway, yes, so when I had the stroke, I have a PowerPoint that covers all this. When I had the stroke, I never said why me. I never said why me, and that to me is God-driven. That was the only gift. I really feel that was a gift because that's not human. It's not normal. But I remember specifically, I never was alone. My brothers, I had 8 brothers, and they all brought meals. I ate only breakfast. Everything else came from outside, and my brothers had a calendar, and each brother had, like, Jared brought me like Caesar salad. You know, everyone had their thing. But I realized laying in that bed that everyone in that hospital could say, why me? We were a warehouse of strangers, yet everybody was afflicted with something, and not the same thing, and all of us could have said, why me? But you know what I did? I said, how? How do I get back to being Rory's mom? How do I get back to being Jim's wife and not have him as my care provider? I want him a partnership. I don't want him to be a nurse. And so I said how, and it was an action versus like for me. Now don't get me wrong, I believe in pity parties. I so believe in them. How many of you have pity parties? Yeah, so important. So we poo-poo pity parties, but actually, well, there's alliteration. So pity parties are necessary because we need to acknowledge we're sad. We want to acknowledge the hardship we're going through. It's the only way you'll be able to make progress if you acknowledge. So have the pity party, but make sure you have an exit strategy. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. But I have to say, I did say, the double vision brought me to my knees. I had a very difficult time with that because I couldn't walk my dog. I couldn't do anything. And then when the Cindy hit me, I remember turning to my mom and just saying, I think I'm Job. I think I am reenacted Job. Why, you know? But I always said that I never was mad at God. I was just frustrated. That was really the bottom line, the frustration. And I've learned that that's how Job felt. I guess he was frustrated too, so.
I once read a book, a self-help book with having a condition, and he posed the question in the book of, why me? And the answer in the book was to say every time you had that feeling to say, why not me?
Yes, yes. Yeah, that's the pretty common thing to say, why not me? Why someone else? But yeah, that's what, that kind of goes into hand in hand with that, like everyone in this place could say. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, thank you.
Back table if you want to speak with her, and there are books there to be signed and sold. And she's, I'm your agent now. And, you know,
I love Michelle.
yeah, you know, the pandemic really did a kind of derailed the career that Julia's had as a speaker. And just doing it on Zoom just wasn't the same thing for you. She's clearly somebody who wants the energy of the audience,
Yeah.
right?
So if you know of like any events or hospitals, women's groups, I can adapt to anything. My last 2 speaking events were for realtors, and I tied brain injury into real estate. And it worked great.
So